Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Karmic Gacha system in Modern Family World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 136, Fort Wars, 4, Final. Edward POV. Hello there, I muttered. The jester looked up from the throne before pulling a lightsaber toy in his hand and replied, General Kenobi. I laughed a bit and my eyes went to the 5-rope knot dangling on top of the throne before asking, So, have you fallen to the dark side? Abraham turned on the toy lightsaber in his hand, revealing a blue glow. As you can see, the one who had turned to the dark side wasn't me. I noticed a lightsaber laid down near where I was standing, so I picked it up before turning it on. A red glow appeared on the lightsaber, in which I reacted with a chuckle. So, by any chance if I told you a story about a tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, would you stand by my side again? I said while twirling the lightsaber a few times. Abraham said angrily, You released the HOUUNNNDDDSS on them. He gritted his teeth and stood up before clashing his lightsaber with mine. You promised to enact peace in your rule. But now? Those who challenged your rule fell in disrepair. You'd unleashed a tragedy, akin to a nuclear war, onto this realm. Have you no regard for others, for human life? My face changed from a smiling king to an evil overlord. Don't be so dramatic. It's just the necessary sacrifice. All for the glory of the Empire. You. Abraham retracted his saber before swinging it at me continuously, in which I blocked every single one. Then, I sidestepped and tripped him, making him fall to the cushiony floor. Clicking tongue, poor, sad jester. So what if you had seen my true face? You're powerless to stop it. I teased before I walked slowly to my throne. I sat there crossing my leg while looking at him coldly. The cameraman zoomed into my face while crouching, with an excited expression as he filmed the whole thing. General POV Hounds. Sanjay Patel vowed to become a worthy rival to the Lord of Fluffy Shire, whether academically or in charisma. He was failing his ambition miserably, not to mention that right now, he had to face the consequences of challenging the throne. Stop releasing the hounds on my subjects, he said angrily. However, the citizens of his fort were currently melting as they watched a cute little corgi dog present his belly by rolling on the floor with its little dumb tongue hanging out of his mouth. Ah! The citizens, or more accurately, the girls, exclaimed as they wanted to pet the dog. But its owner, Barnes Troy, stopped them and said, Sir Fluffy Hound Templeton II is a knight underneath the king, and also an official mascot of Fluffy Shire. Unless you're a citizen of our realm, you're not permitted to pet him. Ah, the girls exclaimed sadly. Troy then added while holding a piece of paper in his hand, all that could be subverted if you just sign this contract, selling the ownership of the lands to our charismatic leader, King Newgate III. You'll keep the ownership of your fort, but you'll serve under a rightful leader if you sign this. What do you say? Sanjay was pressured by his group of friends, before his co-owner of the land, Haruna, pushed him away and took the contract paper from Troy. We'll serve the king, Haruna said before signing the paper quickly, her eyes twinkling as she stared at the dog. No! Sanjay screamed in despair as he watched everything he built was taken away from him. Come on, hound. We need to attack 2 more encampments in front of us. Troy pulled the dog leash slowly to remove him from Haruna's embrace as they needed to finish their work. We have 3 hours left before school ends. I hope we can make it, Troy muttered as the short-legged dog looked at him while they were walking side by side. Edward POV. Abraham swung the lightsaber towards me again and again, but I sidestepped to avoid all of his slashes. When our lightsabers clashed, we actually stopped its momentum just before it hit each other to avoid breaking the toy. I jumped on the throne and said, It's over, Abraham. I have the high ground. You've underestimated my power. Abraham said menacingly before trying to slash his saber at me, but I thrust mine and penetrated underneath his armpit. Shocked, Abraham staggered while the saber was still sticking on him, and he slowly fell to his knees. Abraham's commentary. To fight him, I had practiced fencing for over 3 years, but I still failed in the end. Edward's commentary. Well, I had watched all the Star Wars movies, twice. So it makes sense that I won. Commentary ends. With a huffing breath, he asked, "So, did my struggle even make you sweat?" I wish I could say yes, but I don't want to lie to you at your final moments, I said as I turned my back against him. Abraham chuckled and said, "Maybe, if it is you. You could actually handle the burden of being a king." He struggled at the end before he dropped lifelessly on the soft and warm floor. I sighed and I went to take back my lightsaber from him, but then I heard someone slow clapping from behind me. I turned and saw Mrs. Henderson standing beneath the kill switch knot that I had engineered with an astonished expression on her face. "You kids' commitment to the role is really surprising. Too bad that it all must end now," she muttered before reaching out her hand for the knot. "It's been fun, Edward," she said with a satisfied smile on her face as she untangled the knot. But then, nothing happened. Confused, Mrs. Henderson turned to look at me as I was helping Abraham stand back up after his death. Then, a banner fell from the ceiling, shocking the teacher. "You lose," the banner said. "What the dash?" Mrs. Henderson widened her eyes before turning to me again for the explanation. "Do you really think Abraham will betray me?" I asked with a teasing smile on my face. "Although he likes Alex, it's more towards admiration rather than love." "Yeah. I'm a simp for Alex. Did I use that right?" he whispered to me after declaring himself as a simp loudly. "Besides, I'm the one who gives the roles to everyone. I'm the one who called the girls his harem member." "Nice performance, right?" Abraham said before he took a bow. I nodded and continued teasing the teacher. "I know you're going to target one of us. Therefore, I decided to make a controllable target that you can reach out to. Why do you think my hat has bells on it?" "It was to gain your attention," Abraham added while shaking his jester hat, making some ringing noise. Both of us laughed together while Mrs. Henderson kept looking at us with a scrunched face. "Even if you had planned every ed, you should know that all of this is going to end when you lead me to you. So why did you do it?" she asked, trying to find the answer for her confusion. I shrugged and said, "Because I don't need to continue this anymore. I have already achieved my aim." A scruffy-looking man in a Guinness World Book of Records t-shirt suddenly entered the room and announced, "You did it. You broke the previous record. With 652 meters square footage, you managed to surpass the previous record at Tyndall Community College. The record for the largest blanket fort in the world is now held by your school," the officials announced. The cameraman pumped his fist in excitement as he witnessed the whole thing before getting back to his work. Mrs. Henderson was blanking out for a bit before she muttered to herself, "Book of record?" I laughed and said to her, "How do you think I convinced the principal to allow me to do this?" "You're slipping, Teach. You're usually better than this. You should have told me. I would have ruined everything," she said self-deprecatingly. I comforted her by saying, "No. That will ruin the entire purpose of today." "And that is?" she asked with raised eyebrows as she walked to my side. "To get on your nerves for one last time," I replied with a smirk. General POV. Well, if my powers hadn't been locked as a punishment, maybe I wouldn't be able to enjoy the last game he prepared for me. Mrs. Henderson muttered to herself as she followed Edward and Abraham from behind as they led her towards the true kill switch. After her last interference in the mortal affair, her company senior had taken away her privilege until summer vacation started. For once, she had experienced a mortal struggle to understand the world around them. To her surprise, she didn't hate that feeling. "It's my classroom?" Mrs. Henderson said in disbelief after finding out where the true kill switch was. Edward chuckled and said, "Well, it's always darkest underneath the lamp. Besides, that's not all I had prepared." "Ha!" Abraham opened the door, revealing a classroom filled with balloons, snacks, and even a banner saying, "Grade 8 Mrs. Henderson class." A group of students suddenly shouted, "Surprise! It's a farewell party!" All of Mrs. Henderson's grade 8 students were waiting patiently inside the classroom for her arrival the minute Alex and the others had been captured by Mrs. Johnson, the PE teacher. Jenna, Elsa, and Jacob had to rush to the classroom after slipping away from the PE teacher to join the party together with the rest of the students. They had already been released from the principal's office after signing the participation document for the World Book of Record, and received a t-shirt and a certificate for their involvement. Right now, they were inside the assembly hall, distributing the t-shirt that the students would receive after getting the world record while the grade 8 students were having the farewell party inside the classroom. Not only for Mrs. Henderson's homeroom, but various teachers were also having a farewell party thrown by their students. The unexpected surprise for the teachers would soon become a tradition inside the school, while breaking down the barrier between the student and teacher, albeit slightly. "I'll miss you, teacher," Jenna said while crying as she hugged Mrs. Henderson. Elsa, and a lot of the girls also hugged the teacher as they said their final goodbyes to her. The teacher was looking at them with a kind look before subtly wiping her tears away as she enjoyed the party. "Everyone, let's count this together," Abraham said as the teacher was standing at the kill switch knot. 3, 2, 1, 0. The students counted before Mrs. Henderson untangled the knot. The blanket forts all around the school started to fall, with no longer any students being inside of it. Abraham's chin quivered as he mumbled to himself, "Fluffy Shire." Jacob noticed his sadness and said, "Cheer up. After summer, we will make a new legend, during high school next." Abraham nodded while holding back his tears. Mrs. Henderson walked to Edward before the party ended. "So, you're finally graduating. I don't know whether to be glad that you can graduate, or fear for your shenanigan in the next school." Edward laughed before saying, "Don't worry. I'll try to tone down my shenanigans. It'll be boring when you're not there to try and stop me." She chuckled and suddenly placed her hand on top of my head. You've gotten tall." He was a bit taken aback before he just enjoyed it. "Yeah. That's what happens when a boy grows up." Then, I should say that, you have grown up an amazing young man, Edward. I'm proud of you." Edward didn't expect the sudden attack, and he just lowered his head as he nodded to her words. Suddenly, the teacher pulled her into a hug and said, "I know that you'll do amazing things in the future. Just remember, when you're always looking out for others, you also need to be taken care of." "I will," Edward said with his voice shaking. She rubbed his back a few times as she said, "Good. I'll trust that you'll keep that promise." "Ed, we should go." Jacob suddenly interjected. "What for? Isn't the assembly next?" Mrs. Henderson released Edward and asked. Jacob and Edward looked at each other before Mrs. Henderson sighed and said knowingly, "Ed, I thought you're done with the shenanigans?" "Well, I haven't graduated yet, so just for one last time?" Ed said wryly as he scratched his cheek. Assembly Hall, last period of school. The African-American, old principal stood behind the podium as he gave his final lectures before the summer vacation started. Use your 3 months of summer vacation properly. Do some volunteer work. Don't do dangerous things. Blah blah blah. He droned on for over 10 minutes before he said, "Give a big applause to the team of students who made today possible. Now, our school name is eternally recorded inside the World Book of Records." The crowd cheered for the students who made this all possible. But before the principal could continue speaking, suddenly an electric guitar sound reverberated throughout the hall. What the dash, the principal wanted to ask who did it with his microphone, and he found out that his mic had been turned off. The red curtain on the stage suddenly opened, and revealed 4 figures standing on top of the stage, each holding a different instrument. The crowd cheered and clapped as they had waited for the final performance today since the principal started speaking. "You guys must have suffered long. Edward joked before turning to the principal and asking politely, "Sir, I promised to sing a song for them before the school ends. Now that you have finished speaking, will you allow me to take over the stage?" Although he hadn't finished speaking, the principal was too satisfied with Edward's achievement today to say anything, even if it was only a record for the largest blanket fort. "Okay. I'll give you guys my permission," he said before he ceremoniously left the stage to Ed's hands. Edward took a deep breath before saying, I thought a lot about singing on the stage today, and I'm sure that all of my band members/friends did too. Maybe it's the thought of not going back to this school made me melancholic, or the fact that I'm happy that I won't need to see your faces again. The crowd jeered at Edward, but with a smile on their faces as they knew he was joking. We all have memories inside this school's hallway. Whether it's good, or it's bad, the school has taught us so much. We even met people who we knew would stay in our life for a long time here in this school. Sometimes we don't want to come, but it then turned out to be the best day of school we ever had. Maybe there's a silver lining in all of the suffering. So for those of you who had doubts that one day, your life won't be better, then I can assure you, it will be. I can vouch for it," Edward said while glancing at his group of friends below the stage and around him. "All right, enough chit-chat. For my last present for you guys today, I will sing an Edward signature song, and I hope you guys will love it." The crowd cheered again while Edward took a deep breath to calm himself down. The song he was singing wasn't something that he had heard in his previous life, but it was something that he decided to make as he got the inspiration. Not knowing how people would react to the song, he was feeling quite nervous for the entire day. But as he watched his group of friends face their own fears, he knew he had to do the same thing. Ed Sheeran's Celestial. Edward strummed his classic guitar as he sang, You see tonight it could go either way. Hearts balanced on a razor blade. The band members were a bit astonished as they heard Edward's way of singing, but Alex, who had heard the song photographed before, smiled widely as she played the cello with her fingers. We are designed to love and break, and to rinse and repeat it all again. The crowd swayed their body gently to the song as he sang. Jenna suddenly teared up from the thought of saying goodbyes, causing Elsa to hug her on the back to comfort her. I get stuck when the world's too loud and things don't look up when you're going down. Edward remembered the days when he felt lost and didn't know what to do. Know your arms are reaching out from somewhere beyond the clouds. He paused the music, looked at the sky before closing his eyes, and then hastened the rhythms for the chorus. Mrs. Henderson nodded in understanding when a soft wind suddenly blew inside the assembly hall. You make me feel like my troubled heart is a million miles away. You make me feel like I'm drunk on stars and we're dancing out into space. Drunk on stars, or star? Enid sniggered as an image of a blonde artist came to her mind. Edward took a step back and focused on the guitar before singing again. Celestial. The crowd cheered. Jacob wiped his tears slowly as he fixed his gaze on Edward, not wanting to miss even a second of his friend's performance. I see the light shining through the rain. 1,000 colors in a brighter shade. Needed to rise from the lowest place. There's silver lining that surrounds the gray. Ed unknowingly activated his soul voice as he sang from the heart, making those who listened to it related strongly to the song. When I get lost, will it come back round? Things don't look up when you're going down. The happy and bad memories that they had reappeared inside their mind, and the figure of those who always stood with them became clearer. Know your arms, they are reaching out from somewhere beyond the clouds. You make me feel like my troubled heart is a million miles away. You make me feel like I'm drunk on stars and we're dancing. Edward! Jenna shouted in encouragement before the chorus.
Smallest things, the way we notice, that's what really matters. Let's make tonight go on and on.
Edward sang,
You make me feel,
and was continued by his friends. Alex and Phineas.
we were made to be nothing more than this, finding magic in all the smallest. You make me feel,
Alex and Phineas.
the way we notice, that's what really matters. Let's make tonight go on and on and on. You make me feel like my troubled heart is a million miles away.
The corgi who hadn't gotten home yet also swayed his tiny tail as he heard the song.
You make me feel like I'm drunk on stars and we're dancing out in space, celestial. We were made to be nothing more than this, finding magic in all the smallest things. The way we notice, that's what really matters.
Uploading 13%, 35%, 70%. Upload successful. Chapter 137, Fort Wars, Reactions. General POV. MOM. Edward's show is up. Manny yelled after setting up the laptop with the TV screen in the living room. Luke was there too as he made it his job to make sure that Manny would keep exercising and dieting every single day. Not that he wanted Manny to become healthier, but he fell in love with the superiority of being a coach and wanted to make Manny's life a living hell. Compared to how bloated Manny was before, now, his jaw had become more angular and his chubby cheeks had sunk, making a few girls notice him, which made him more confident about Ed's technique to pick up girls. Grandpa! Come quick! Luke ran to Jay, who was drinking a glass of scotch at the bar, and pulled him towards the couch. Jay sighed and said gruffly, I don't think that I will be interested in watching this. It's for teenage girls who's fanatic to him, not me. Jay, don't be an old man. Gloria interjected as she walked down the stairs while wearing an earring. Then, she said in a careful manner to avoid looking like an insult, Alex is singing too. You should give her support. Isn't that right, Manny? Luke suddenly laughed and said, Yeah, Grandpa. Alex will need it. Not that the family was looking down on Alex, but they just never heard her sing before. So they were a bit doubtful about her participation in the show. Fort Wars was the title of the video. The thumbnail was of Edward sitting on a throne with a red lightsaber, which made his fans both feel incredulous and excited to click on it. The movie played with texts floating up on the screen, Star Wars style. Aren't they afraid of getting sued? Jay muttered in disbelief. In another house. OOHHH. Phil exclaimed in excitement as he watched the show. Next to her was Haley, who was holding a Vogue magazine and was asking Claire a few questions. Mom, it says here men who are attracted to emotional/gothic type girls, and even psycho girls, have massive issues with their mother. Do you think that's true? Haley asked with an expression of disbelief. Haley's commentary. I was wondering why Tara recommended this issue to me. Turns out, it can provide me a deeper understanding on why he's like that. Haley said carefully and with a wry smile. Of course, if it's written in the magazine, I should believe it, right? I mean, why would they lie? She asked with a worrying chuckle while holding the magazine. It said that to attract the attention of these kinds of men, I should become more affectionate, don't play games with them, give out a motherly impression? What the hell is even that? I don't have any of these things. Commentary ends. Honey, instead of reading the magazine, why don't you help me fold this laundry? Claire said to avoid answering the question by her daughter. Not because she didn't know the answer, but because she knew it all too well. Haley scrutinized her mother's face before she slowly picked up the laundry and folded it messily but with her eyes stuck on Claire. Today we're going to build a school-wide blanket fort and try to break the book of record. The video opened with the sight of Edward speaking to a group of students in a normal tone, before it changed 5 minutes later into a feudal lord tone after the blanket fort was erected. Ha ha ha. Why are they all so serious? Haley laughed out loud, while feeling slightly jealous of those kids. Even Claire and Phil couldn't help smiling as they watched it. When Luke and Alex come home, we will make our own dash, Phil said excitedly, before it was shut down by his wife, "No, Phil." Phil's commentary. I want to build a fort too. It's been a while since the kids wanted to do it. I miss it. Phil said with sad eyes. Commentary ends. Performance? He's singing in this? Haley asked when Edward declared it in the video. Forget about that. What are the contrabands he's smuggling? That should be the main concern. Claire said with narrowed eyes. The video continued with Abraham kneeling in front of the throne, esteemed lord of Fluffyshire, honorable members of the royal harem. All of them were frozen as they heard it. Especially Haley. Haley commentary. He said what? She yelled incredulously. Far away from California, a blonde teenage girl was watching the video while on a video call with her best friend at the same time. Selena, are you watching it? Taylor asked as she skipped the video to the last section as she wanted to hear Edward's song first. I'm watching it from the start. Also, I'm jealous. I had imagined playing with my friends inside the school like this. Selena muttered on the screen. Really? What should I do? Taylor rubbed her chin as she thought about it. Well, I will watch the end first, then I will decide whether to watch the whole thing. Weren't you the one who's so excited, you called me when I was filming on set? Didn't you say you miss him? I do miss him, but he's out there playing without even thinking about me who's suffering over here. Taylor said while crossing her arms angrily. Suffering? Bitch, you're inside a mansion dash. Enough talking. I will play the song first. Taylor then clicked on the play button and listened to Celestial together with Selena.
You make me feel like my troubled heart is a million miles away. You make me feel like I'm drunk on stars and we're dancing out in space. Celestial.
Aha, I can't. Taylor squealed and paused the video to calm down her huffing breath and flushing face. Selena teased, so, you sing Starlight for him, and he replied with Celestial Dash. Taylor chortled out loud and then jumped on the bed before squirming, kicking all the pillows to the floor. Selena was jealous and muttered, I want someone to sing for me too. Or at least make some lines for me in his songs. Taylor suddenly sat up and slapped her face a few times to calm herself down. That was dangerous. I was just thinking about buying a house next to him. Selena raised her eyebrow and said, And nothing. Just thinking about it. Taylor replied casually before they both watched the show from the beginning. Esteemed lord of Fluffyshire, honorable members of the royal harem. Both Selena and Taylor were frozen. But then, Selena realized something before Taylor could explode. Look, there's no lady. Or queen. Selena pointed out. Taylor's brain repressed the image of Alex sitting on top of Edward's lap as she heard it. Then, she realized it was true. They were only his harem members. Calm down. Don't go psycho. There's still a long way to go before the movie is finished. Selena placated Taylor. As the video cuts to Jenna's commentary of wanting to substitute Alex, Taylor and Selena also nodded as they were thinking of the same thing. Inside Edward's fan club chat forum, the members were bombarding the chat, displaying the same sentiment. Lily Leader, I wanna sit there too. I'm so jealous. Beyonce Lover, still, I want to see Taylor sat there. Ed Forever. I want to serve under the Lord. Ah. Why is he so handsome? Hashtag villain_Edward_is_sexy. Kim Jong-sun, don't you think Supreme Leader Edward is better? Ed Forever, I don't care. He can trample on me anytime he wants. Admin, user is sent to timeout for 5 minutes. Clown Daddy, give me back my blanket Alex. Inside Mitch and Cam's house, Cam was eating popcorn while Lily sat on his lap as they watched the show together. Mitchell was still at work, so they were watching it by themselves. Okay Lily, I know your dad asked us to wait for him, but Daddy couldn't wait any longer. Don't judge me. Cam made excuses to his 1-year-old adopted child. Jed, Ed. Lily pointed at the TV every time Edward came out. Cam was baffled as to how Lily could possibly recognize the main lead, but attributed the matter to Ed's charisma. Even babies were captured by him. Cam said before he texted Mitchell that he would wait for him with a winky face. In Mitchell's workplace, his entire floor of paralegal and lawyers were standing behind Mitch as he streamed the movie on his laptop. He had clicked to watch it the second it was uploaded, and he had already arrived at the scene where Billy was singing All Star. I didn't expect Ed to find another talent. Mitchell muttered to himself while eating a biscuit. His middle-aged fat man colleague poured some tea for him, and he said, "Oh. Thank you. You're welcome." So, he is really close to your family? The college asked with a thick face. Could you get me his autograph? I missed his last merchandise sales, now my daughter isn't talking to me. Mitchell said smugly, well, he is quite busy. Oh, you know what, why don't I do this work for you today? So can you take the time to consider? The man said before picking up a thick stack of files on top of Mitchell's desk. Oh, you don't have to. I will ask him. Mitchell said with fake reluctance. The middle-aged man smiled and said, no. I want to do it. You should just enjoy watching this dash. Before he could finish, Mitchell's boss knocked on the open office door twice, earning everyone's attention. What are you guys doing here? Go back to work. The colleagues all scampered away to avoid being targeted by the boss. Mitchell slammed his laptop shut, but the boss was already walking towards him. Mitchell. The boss called out politely to Mitchell's surprise. As it turned out, the boss also had the same dilemma as his middle-aged colleague. So if you can, it'll be great. The boss asked politely. Oh. I understand. Amanda is a nice girl. If, nothing. What? Tell me. Well. There will be a small, just a tiny, concert by Edward tomorrow. Not many people were invited. But I am. If I wasn't working on the Walter White's deposition, I could dash. What are you talking about, Mitchell? I gave the deposition work to Jolene. You can take Saturday off like usual. The boss said suddenly. Mitchell smiled and said, oh. I guess. I can go to the concert. And you know what, boss? Why don't I take Amanda with me? I do have backstage passes. The boss grinned widely as he walked away from Mitchell's office. He stopped by the door, turned back and said, Mitchell. You had done some exemplary work this week. Why don't you take the rest of the day off? Mitchell's commentary. I really didn't think that my impulse to watch the show today could lead to such a wonderful opportunity. Mitchell grinned before fixing his seat to show more confidence. Is this what it feels like to be famous? People would want to give you nice things all the time? I sure can get used to this. He said smugly. Then, he realized something and he said, I should call Haley after this. I don't have the tickets yet, I sure hope that I can find one. Commentary ends. Inside the Dunphys' house, Claire was so excited and was shaking Phil violently as she watched Alex's performance. Even Haley was shocked by her sister's capability, and she was so embarrassed when she saw Alex wanted to do a crowd surfing. Damn it, Alex. You have ruined your own image. She muttered. How did Edward plan this? Why is he making his teacher run around? Does he have a grudge with her? Phil muttered in confusion. In terms of popularity between the cast of the movie, Mrs. Henderson was actually leading in the ranking as her cold-blooded beauty was shown to the entire world. Next was Enid, the Shadow Guard, and cementing his place in the top three, the Corgi, Sir Fluffyhound Templeton II. Ah, he's so cute. Selena exclaimed as the video cuts to a footage of the dog licking Ed's face, making him laugh and break character as he sat on the throne. I wonder if he likes cats too. Taylor mumbled to herself. Inside the room of a certain D producer office, a certain Eckstein producer smoked his cigar as he watched the figure of the children inside the show. I want to see their feet. He muttered. Should I cast them in my new show? But too bad for him, he wouldn't even manage to come close to the cast members as they got Edward as their backing. Fame carries a certain degree of treachery, so Ed knew that he had to be careful when releasing this show on his platform. With 3 million subscribers in the first month of the streaming site release, the names of the cast members inside the show had spread all over the world, albeit it was circling amongst Edward's fan community. Entertainment company co-CEO Pepper was watching the show when he suddenly sighed. At first, I didn't think that it'd be good for his image to release this, it seems so childish. But unexpectedly, people like their idol doing dumb and relatable stuff. Pepper added as he watched Edward's name become trending again on Twitter. Harvey nodded and suddenly said with a smirk, yes. You have no talent in this. You should just let him handle the company from now on. Pepper was speechless and couldn't find the words to refute Harvey for some while. Eminem watched the show with a poker face before he sniggered and muttered, Yo Dre. Come check this out, man. He's fighting with lightsabers. Huh? Weren't you watching a documentary? Dre asked in confusion. In Jay's house, Luke and Manny exclaimed in awe as they watched the lightsaber fight in the dim room. That's so cool. Mom. What is a lightsaber? Manny asked as he had never watched Star Wars before. He's 10. That's from Star Trek Manny. I want one. Grandpa. Buy me one. Luke pestered Jay before getting back to the show. Luke. It's Star Wars. Your Uncle Mitch's head will let out smoke if you say it wrong. Jay said with a chuckle. I know it's Star Trek. I watched it with my dad before. Luke said disobediently. As the story showed that Ed had been playing the teacher from the beginning of the story, viewers around the world were shocked by the revelation and the internet exploded. Lily Leader, all according to the plan. Eisensosuke.img. Inside an apartment in Pasadena, Sheldon suddenly shouted while sitting on his spot on the couch, impossible. This must be scripted. Leonard laughed while sitting on the lone couch and said, no. It's real. It's a documentary. I refuse to believe this. Also Leonard. You lied to me. You said George Lucas came out with an exclusive. Sheldon stood up and ran away to his room in anger. Rajesh and Howard also laughed at Sheldon before Rajesh said, I didn't know that he's a Star Wars fan. Is he also a comic book fan? Oh. We should invite him here and show our collection to him sometimes. Leonard added. Or use him to get close to George Lucas, and act as a Jedi in the next movie. Howard said as if he got a great idea. While his friends were disdaining him, a certain direction inside the Skywalker Ranch was watching the show before he mumbled, is this the appropriate time for another Star Wars movie yet? Or should I just sell the company? George Lucas couldn't come to a decision today. But he knew deep inside his heart that if he did come out with the new movie, a certain teenage singer would be his first choice to become a Sith Lord. RDJ watched the fight scene and he said to John Favreau, "I told you. The kid can act." "Yes. I do believe you. But there aren't any roles suitable for him. And we don't have the rights for the Spider-Man film." John replied. "Give him a role to fight Scarlet. I'm sure he'll love it for her to wrap her legs around him." RDJ said sarcastically while teasing John's questionable choice in the new movie. Clown Daddy, congrats Ed for breaking the world record. Lily Leader. Congrats Ed for breaking the world record. Even on Twitter, a lot of celebrities were tagging Edward in their tweets to congratulate him. At Miley Cyrus, congratulations Edward Newgate. I didn't think that I would be absorbed watching a documentary, but you have changed my view. At Samuel L. Jackson, motherfucker, why don't you use the purple lightsaber? At Andrew Garfield, oh my god, my Jedi heart is screaming inside of me. At Edward Newgate, you should be a Sith Lord. At Ewan McGregor. You're the chosen one, Edward. It is said that you'll destroy the Sith. Not join them. At Ewan McGregor, I'm not satisfied with the 2-minute fight. I want more. The plot twist is mind-blowing. The jester is the MVP. At Hayden, I agree with at Ewan McGregor. As the world reached Edward's performance, they swooned together with the rest of the students. Haley mumbled to herself, is he still sad about his grandmother? I didn't expect that, Phil swayed to the music before he muttered, I don't know why, but this song reminds me of Pokémon's. Haley. Claire. Cameron Diaz, it makes me miss my school days. I didn't expect that. At Edward Newgate, I'm your fan now. Back to Taylor, Selena was baffled when Taylor suddenly ran out of her room, shouting for her dad. Daddy! I want to go to the concert tomorrow. You can't stop me. Lily Leader, Celestial? Hee hee, I guess it's a reference to the girl who sang Starlight before? Hashtag Tayward_forever. The song Celestial quickly became trending, and the fires of Edward and Taylor's shippers were reignited again, pushing the shippers towards a fanatical level. Camila's house. As the world was reacting to the show, Edward was currently being squished by a group of people on top of his giant bed. His group of friends were laying on top of him in a dog pile, preventing him from moving. We don't want to go, exclaimed all of the people in his social group. Jenna, Enid, Billy, Alex, Phineas, Abraham, Elsa, Jacob, all of them were currently at Edward's house as they didn't want to separate as school was over. Get lost, you guys. I have to get ready for prom. Edward shouted and tried to push them off, but to no avail. NOO, X8. Chapter 138, Summer Plans. Edward POV. You guys are so heavy. I groaned as I rubbed my sore back after making the people get off me. Jenna and Enid happily rolled around my giant bed while Alex, Billy and Elsa were sitting on the edge. The boys were all kicked out from the bed and were spread all over the room. Holding a Metallica album, Phineas asked quizzically, you listen to heavy metal? That's unexpected. That's Abby's. I replied casually before taking out 3 sets of suits from the closet. I laid them down on the bed while I took off my shirt, making the girls squeal in surprise. Shut up. This is my room. I can be naked in here if I want, I said in a sarcastic manner as I threw my shirt to Enid. She grabbed the shirt and sniffed it before saying, go ahead. Be naked. We won't mind. I would mind. I don't want my girl to look at other naked men, Jacob said in a serious manner. Too late, Jenna said with a chuckle, causing Elsa to blush. Shut up, Elsa said before attacking Jenna. What's that supposed to mean? Jacob asked in worry and confusion. Porn. She watched porn, I explained simply, which made Jacob sigh in relief and Elsa threw a pillow at me in embarrassment. Go die. All of you, she exploded before running away. As we laughed, Phineas suddenly asked, so, now that summer's here? What are you guys going to do? Abraham was fiddling with his illegal items he snatched from the contraband pile in school and replied, "I don't have a plan yet." "What about you?" Phineas replied, "I'm not sure yet, but my mom usually brings us to the beach house in Montauk over summer. We'll spend a few weeks there, usually after the 4th of July. Billy nodded before saying, "If any of you guys want, you can come with us. We're usually bored out of our minds there." Your parents didn't bring you guys sightseeing?" I asked in confusion. Phineas and Billy looked at each other before Billy replied, "Well, they usually spent some time at another couple's house. I don't know what they were doing there." I nodded while inwardly replying, "Swinging," but not saying it to the kids as I didn't want to ruin their perception of their parents. "Montauk? That's a coincidence. I usually went there with my family too." "Not my dad though, he is busy training his team in the summer," Jacob added after bringing the angry Elsa back into the room and made her sit on his lap as he patted her head to calm her down. "Ah, you guys could play together then. Maybe try some surfing or skinny dipping," Abraham joked. Jenna and Enid were watching me the whole time as I tried on my suit, and then Alex laughed as she saw the sight. "Aha, the suit is small. What are you? The Hulk?" she joked as I checked out my reflection in the mirror. The suit was great, but too bad for me, I had already outgrown it. "Can you believe that I tailor-made this suit 2 months ago?" I said as I took off the shirt and became shirtless again. "Phineas, this was never worn. Try it. See if it's fit." I threw the suit to Phineas before he blushed and said, "I don't want to undress dash. Go outside the room or use the toilet next door if you're shy," I said with a tone of disbelief. Phineas realized it and ran away quickly as the group laughed at him. I remember you being my height before. Now, you even got muscles," Jenna said before she touched my abs without me realizing it. Enid was jealous and she pinned Jenna down before saying urgently, "I want to touch too." I took a step back before she could, which made her pout in dissatisfaction. I laughed before saying, I don't know whether all of this can fit me. I asked Pepper to bring my suit this morning from the office, but I didn't know if he already did." "Oh. Your aunt told me to remind you, your stuff is in the living room. I'll go get it," Alex said before she ran out of the room. Suddenly, I heard both Alex and Phineas let out a horrified yell, and Alex scolding Phineas for being naked in the corridor. As they were arguing, Enid asked, "Ed, you're going to see your grandparents, right?" "Yeah. I'll be staying in a ranch for a while. Hopefully they really have installed Wi-Fi there, or I'll be living like it's the Middle Ages over there." "Ranch? Your family have a ranch?" Jenna asked curiously. "Yeah. Horses, cows, sheeps. Usually my grandpa and I will ride horses around the place while my cousins annoy me when I go there." "Wait. Did you wear a cowboy hat when you rode it?" Jenna asked with her eyes lit up. "Yeah. Why?" I asked in confusion. Jenna giggled for a while and said, "Nothing. I don't have anything to do in the summer. I envy you. I want to ride horses too." Without thinking much, I replied, "Well, you could always come to the ranch dash." "Yee." Jenna celebrated suddenly before I could finish my words. Enid whispered in dissatisfaction, "Lucky." "Wait, Jen. Didn't you say you're going to church camp?" Elsa suddenly asked in confusion. Jenna flinched as she remembered it and sighed depressingly. "Yeah." All of us widened our eyes and exclaimed in disbelief, "Church camp? You, the slut, are going to church camp?" Enid muttered in shock. "What do you mean, slut? I'm a nice girl now. Modest, Catholic girl," Jenna said jokingly. "My mom is going there to dash. To hunt for virgin boys?" I added while still in shock. Jenna glared at me and said, "No. To make the priests break their vow of chastity?" Billy added, which impressed me a bit. No, I guess, no?" Even Jenna was confused by her mother's intention as she thought about it. I laughed a bit before asking, Enid, you're going back to Transylvania to run together with your wolf pack? Enid was shocked and she asked, how did you know? Wait, for real? Abraham asked in surprise. Not the wolf part. She retorted angrily before throwing her tiny fist at Abraham from afar. But I will be going to Transylvania to meet my grandparents. It is only for a week, and I will be back before the 4th of July. Enid explained. Abraham and I breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that there were nothing paranormal happening inside the room before Elsa spoke. My mom had to work, so I usually stay at home to take care of my brothers. But this year, I could work part-time at the mall. Oh yeah. We could do that this year. I muttered in amusement before offering, if you want, I could give you a part-time job at my company. You're good at administrative work, so it'll be a waste for you to be selling banana split. Surely you jest. But I don't want to work at a boring company. I want to hang out at the mall all day. Elsa said decisively. Sure. I said dismissively before Phineas walked into the room wearing a dashing brown suit. Alex also walked in while carrying a garment bag. I whistled at Phineas and said, phew. That looks great on you. Thanks. I also love it very much. Phineas said with a smile while still blushing as Alex looked at him. He then turned his attention to the rest of the small suits. Take them if you want. I don't think there's anyone else that could fit them. Wait, maybe Leonard. Leonard? Billy asked in confusion as she walked next to his brother to check out the suit. Dr. Leonard Hofstadter. He's a Caltech experimental physicist. Alex explained. Why him? Abraham asked in confusion. Let's just say, he only has one suit, and it's an ugly corduroy suit. So I feel pity for him. I muttered before opening the garment bag and taking out a black suit. Hey, have you bought the flower for your date yet? Enid asked suddenly. Wait, isn't it a corsage? Abby told me she didn't want it. I asked with a shaky tone. Corsage is a flower. You should definitely bring her flowers. What the hell are you thinking, no flowers for your date? Alex said angrily. I was shaken by her words, and turned to Abraham instantly, abracagini. Is there a way? There is a flower shop open till 6 in the town. If you want it, we need to be fast because there will be a lot of last-minute buying too for dudes in your similar positions. Abraham said in a casual manner. I turned to the clock and breathed in relief as it was only 5 p.m. I should ask my dad to buy it. I said before calling my dad. Wait. 6? Wait, Ed, prom starts at 5. What are you still doing here? Alex asked fearfully after I finished my call. Oh, that. Apparently Haley said only the nerds and the losers come at 5. All the cool kids will be there at 7. So Abby wants to go there at 7. I explained as I buttoned up my shirt. And I need to take off my pants, so all of you, get out of my room. The girl sniggered and said, no. I had to relent and walked out of the room to change into my pants before returning. After changing into a dashing black suit with a white undershirt and a black vest, I stood in front of the mirror to compare the looks with a black tie and a navy blue tie. I changed the ties for a while before I said, both of them are good. Choose the olive ones. It'll bring out your eyes. Alex suddenly said. Since when did you know a thing about fashion? I asked her teasingly. Not me. She shook her phone as she said that, and I saw she was texting with Haley on the screen. I see. Olive color then. I said before throwing both ties on my hand to the bed and picking up the olive-colored one. Now on to the next question, double Windsor knot, or single Windsor knot? What's the difference? Jacob asked in confusion. Well, if a double Windsor knot, then it means that I'm there formally. It is for official business. There will be nothing more happening in the night except for the event. Ha! All of them were confused by my explanation before Enid asked, then, what about the single knot one? That's more of a trying to seduce my date kind of knot. There's no difference between wearing that and not wearing anything at all. You should totally go there without wearing anything. Jenna blurted out unconsciously. Where the hell did you learn all this stuff? Abraham asked with a scrunched eyebrow. Captain Raymond Holt. I replied casually. Who? Alex asked. Not important. I said before deciding on a knot style. Have you called the limo service yet? My aunt suddenly shouted from downstairs. I shouted back, I have. They will come at 6:30. Good. I'm going over to Desiree's house for a while to give her my camera, but. Camila said. I was confused, so I shouted, why a camera, but she was already gone. Of course, to take your picture later on. Alex said while laughing. After getting ready and styling my hair, I walked downstairs and hung out with my friends as I waited for the appointed time. Ed, you have a hot tub, right? We should totally come by to use it later. Abraham said sneakily. The construction isn't done yet. But the hot tub can be used. You guys can come if you want, but I'd rather go to the pool at Alex's grandpa's place. I said. Alex's eyes lit up and she said, yeah. We should go there. I'll ask Grandpa if we can hang out at his house. But, Ed, you have a busy schedule, right? Kinda. Starting tomorrow till 3rd of July, I have a full schedule about my album discussion, music video shootings, apps launching, and album launching. Then I'm free for one day before I have to fly over to Wisconsin. Damn. So what's the point of us going there if you ain't here? I don't want to go to the pool with just Abraham. He's a perv. Enid said. Hey. Abraham retorted. Shut up. I have seen your bag. Disgusting pervert. You know all the girls in the magazine are already old and have saggy tits by now, right? Enid shouted. You don't understand the value of vintage collections. Abraham debated and tried to get me to be at his side, but I just shook my head in disappointment. You're not here on Father's Day too? My dad wanted to invite you to come play with us, but I guess he'll be disappointed again. Alex said, ignoring the bickering duo. Phil does? I am here. But I'll be spending the day, with my dad. I said with a smile. Really? Yeah. We have a tradition. We will buy a lottery ticket at the last moment, then spend all night long grieving at the TV when we don't win the Powerball. I said with a laugh. General POV. After getting the call from his son, Ted drove to the flower shop immediately after getting home from work. However, he was surprised when he saw a huge crowd of people lining up at the shop. Most were teenage boys in a suit. Ted. Over here. Suddenly, he heard a sound calling for him in the beginning part of the line as he was walking to the end. He turned and unexpectedly saw Desiree queuing in line and was waving at him. He walked to her with a smile on his face and said, "What are you doing here?" Abby changed her mind about the corsage. So I had to buy it at the last minute. What about you? Ed changed his mind about the flowers. Ted said before laughing together with Desiree. Dude. No cutting in the line. A teenage boy behind Desiree said, interrupting their chatter. Oh, I'm Dash. He's my boyfriend. Desiree suddenly hugged Ted's bulky arm, causing him to be abashed. So you should stop staring at my ass, or else he will punch you. Shit. The kid cursed before running away quickly as he saw Ted's scary face. What's that? Ted asked in confusion. Just a horny teenage boy. He's been bumping on me purposely a few times. Desiree said in an aggrieved manner. Sometimes, I wonder why this always happens to me. You don't know? You're a beautiful and sexy woman. That's why Ted suddenly realized what he was saying, and Desiree fanned her flushing cheeks as she became embarrassed by it. Anyway. Ed and Abby, huh? Desiree said, changing the topic while still holding Ted's arm as they stepped 1 foot forward in line. A blond boy shouted, "Why yes." Last rose, as he walked out of the store, making the crowd murmur in grief. Why yeah. Ed and Abby. Our children are going to prom with each other. Ted said before wiping the sweat on his forehead. Too bad. If they didn't, then maybe something could actually happen between us. Desiree said. Maybe. Ted replied. You know, we will go back to New York this Monday. Desiree added. Did Ed know about this? Ted asked. I think he does. Abby passed the interview, and her 2 months program will start quickly. I see. Too bad you aren't able to see the house after renovation. I know you want to. Ted said, referring to the times Desiree stopped by the house, always with snacks and drinks as he was working with the construction crew. Nah. I was just going over there to look at you with your tank top on, all sweaty while you saw wood. Desiree said teasingly, which made Ted cough twice. If I had a regret, then it must be that I had never gone on your cruise trip. She added. Ah, that reminds me, one of my friends is sick, so he left me the keys to his ship. Ted said suddenly. If you want, I could show you the sea tonight. Desiree smiled widely before she said coquettishly, Oh, you won't mind going there, just the two of us? Ted thought for a while before he said, Sure. It's a small boat anyway. I could steer it on my own. That's not what I mean. Forget it. Desiree said disappointedly. After getting the flowers and the corsage, they went home in their own cars, but before Desiree started her engine, Ted said assertively, So, I'll pick you up at 8? What, sure. Good. I'll bring some red wine. He said before he entered his car. At Desiree's house. While Edward was getting ready with his friends, Abby too had her own little helpers. So, how do you want your hair done? Haley asked as she was on hair duty. Same as usual. Abby replied, referring to her twin-tail hairstyle. TCH, boring. Tara grunted as she held an eyeliner and was working on Abby's makeup. You wear a bra, right? Haley asked as she could see Abby's chest inside the dress from standing behind her. Abby was shocked and said, You need to wear one? Of course you should. In fact, I should check if you wore panties. Tara retorted before she tried to pull Abby's skirt up. Hey! Privacy much. Abby pushed her skirt down before Tara could look. After setting the hair, Haley sighed as she said, Are you really serious? You want to wear a goth choker to prom? What will he think? There's no difference between this and a dog collar. Should I wear a dog collar? He'll love things like that. Abby said teasingly. Haley rolled her eyes before taking off the choker angrily, Wear necklaces instead. And don't you dare use black nail polish today. Nor the black lipstick. No black lipstick? But I was already done with her eyes. Tara shouted before grumbling angrily. What damn it, Tara? I told you, don't do goth. She told me you said it was okay. Do you even know me? Abby sniggered as she watched her friends were fighting before she asked, Hey, you guys watched the show yet? Yeah. We did. Tara replied. And, did he really sing it for Taylor? Abby asked hesitantly. Huh? Which song? Haley asked in confusion, which made Abby feel a bit relieved. As Haley went away to pick out the earrings from Desiree's box of jewelry, Tara whispered, Sue, tonight's the big night, huh? Just don't do anything you'll regret, okay? I'll keep that in mind. And if someone randomly offers you a drink, by all means, don't take it. Chapter 139, Prom, Part 1. Edward POV. Don't drink and drive, what else? Oh, use protection dash. Before my aunt could finish her words, my dad interrupted, beware of spiked drinks. And, don't drink At all. You don't even have a license yet, so don't drive. He gave my aunt a sideway glare before grabbing my shoulders. Be responsible. Okay? Yeah, Dad. I'm more responsible than you. Stop worrying. It's school prom, not a rave. I muttered in annoyance as it was almost time to pick up my date. My dad smiled as he saw my worrying face and said, "All right, I won't hold you back any longer." But first, my aunt suddenly took out a DSLR camera and snapped a picture of me holding the flowers. I posed for the camera without embarrassment, making my group of friends who were watching boo me. Wish me luck, guys. And make sure to not be around when I get home later on. I joked as I got out of my house. Enid showed her tongue at me in annoyance before saying, "No. We will still be here. You can't throw us away. Also, you guys need to have a picture of you, all together." My aunt said before gesturing for my friends to stand next to me. Alex pulled me back into the house before we took multiple group pictures together. Then, Alex and Phineas started to bicker as the latter was still wearing the suit I gave him. "Wanna bet how long it will take for them to date each other?" Jacob suddenly whispered at me. Well, knowing Alex, he could be simping for her for an entire year, and she would still be oblivious. So it's indeterminate. I muttered seriously. I guess, 1.5 years? I'll take that bet too. I will make them date each other before summer ends. Jenna muttered with a sense of purpose. Hey, no. That's cheating. Jacob said before Elsa took Jenna's side, and they all started an intense argument with each other. I laughed before waving at them as I walked to Abby's house. I took a deep breath and calmed myself down before knocking gently on her door. Knock 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 asterisk. Then, I waited for a few seconds before Desiree opened up the door. With a smile on her face, she said, "Abby will take just a few more minutes." Oh. It's okay, I'll wait. Here. Desiree suddenly gave me a box of corsage. This is a flower to give to Abby. You know how to put it on, right? I think I do, I said while nodding. So, are there any interesting things going on in your life now? You don't have to make small talk, Desiree said with a laugh before both of our attention was pulled by the girl descending the stairs. Her dress was beautiful. The top half was a bit modest, but it was a bit transparent, revealing a bit of her cleavage. She was wearing a black high heels and a teardrop necklace on her neck. She stepped down slowly as she smiled at me with her glossy pink lips. Damn, you're beautiful, I muttered subconsciously, which made Abby blush. Hey! She suddenly turned into the golden retriever again, breaking the elegant girl charisma that she showed earlier on. I laughed a bit before I handed the flower to her. This is for you. Sunflower? She was confused as she took it. That was the only flower left in the store. Desiree suddenly said, surprising me. How do you know? I asked her with widened eyes. She was a bit startled, but she said nothing to explain it. Thanks, Ed. I love it. Abby smiled widely before she gave me a single rose. This is to put on your jacket, right? I think so. Both of us turned to Desiree, who then sighed and said, yes. Put it on him. Where? Abby was confused and she patted my chest a few times, trying to find the slot for the flower. When she was finally done, it was my turn to give her the corsage. As I was stumbling in my effort to stick the flower on Abby's chest, Desiree coughed twice as she whispered, cough on her hand. Cough. Ah. I finally realized it and put the rose on her hand like a bracelet. Kinda feel like you did that on purpose to cop a feel. Abby joked as she touched her chest. I plead the fifth. I answered while avoiding Abby's face, which made her annoyed. Get closer together. I want to take a picture, Desiree said before taking out a digital camera. MOM. That's not necessary. Abby tried to pull me by the wrist to get away, but I stopped her and said, prom photos are necessary. Ha! This is embarrassing, she retorted. You'll need it. 20 years from now, when you're with your children, and they find a box of items from your high school year, that is when you're going to sit on the edge of the bed, reminiscing. This is when the picture is necessary. Otherwise, how should your children know you were taken to prom by a superstar? Ha! Abby was confused, and Desiree laughed as she thought about it. After taking a few pictures, Abby finally had enough and grabbed my hand as she pulled me out of the house. Bye, Mom. Don't wait up, Abby shouted as we ran towards the limousine. The driver, a Korean man in his 50s, was standing by the car with the door opened as we rushed inside. Go, James, I muttered at the driver. On it, Mr. Newgate. He nodded slightly before he closed the door. James? Abby asked while tilting her head in confusion, wondering why I was so familiar with the man. Don't be racist, Abby. A Korean man can have a Western name. His full name is James Kim, though. I was not being racist, she said before she pulled my cheeks in anger. The driver was provided by my company, although the limousine was rented. They couldn't have a stranger driving me around while I was doing a scandalous thing, could they? The interior of the car was filled with red color, and there was a mini fridge near the side door. Abby took out a bottle of champagne out of excitement and showed it to me. See? They are giving us the full service. Nah, this is just the privilege of riding with me, I said as I confiscated the bottle before she could shake it any further. Besides, you don't drink, so don't ruin it. I can drink if I want to, she pouted before crossing her arms together. I laughed a bit before saying, do you know the difference between a wasp and a bee? Of course I do. I'm not stupid, Abby said begrudgingly. Well, I'ma tell you anyway. A wasp is dangerous, but a bee is cute. Her eyes lit up and she sniggered on her seat while still pretending to be mad. Then, she realized that we were taking the wrong direction to the school and was alarmed instantly. Ed, I think he's kidnapping us, she muttered. I scrunched my face as I asked, how the hell did you come to that conclusion? I'm picking up Dylan and his date. Huh? It's not only us in the limo? She said with a hint of disappointment in her tone. It will be only us when we go home. Dylan, with his genius intellect, decided to park his car inside the school a day before to make sure he will get a parking spot. But then, he realized he had no way of getting his date to the venue. He asked me for help, and I couldn't just say no. She looked at me in disbelief before we suddenly heard a thud. The limo braked suddenly, causing Abby to fall into my body as the backlash hit us. What was that? I asked with a raised voice. Someone ran in front of the limo. I could barely stop in time, James explained before he got out of the car to check on the kid. I stood up and got half of my body out of the sunroof to check on the situation, before I saw a familiar face sitting on the curb. Abby stood beside me too and she let out a gasp as she saw what I saw. Dylan! I shouted. Waving from the curb in a weak manner, Dylan kept his smile as he said, Don't worry, I wasn't hit badly. Why are you getting hit at all? What happened? I asked. A fed-up tall girl in a sexy red dress answered the question for him. He was too excited to see the limo that he ran towards traffic. Ha! What are you, Dylan? An overly excited puppy? I shouted in disbelief as I understood the situation. Also, nice to meet you again, Anais. I greeted the girl while the driver helped escort Dylan to the door. Nice to see you too, Edward. You had become more handsome since I last saw you, Anais said as she followed the driver from behind. I laughed a bit before saying, You've become hotter too. Before I could finish my words, Abby elbowed me in the waist in jealousy. Both of us got back to our seats as Dylan and Anais entered the car. Are you sure you didn't need to go to the doctor? I asked in concern as I saw the limping Dylan. Don't worry about it. This wasn't the first time something like this happened. Besides, I promised Anais. Dylan said as he glanced at his date. Anaisa's lip curled up a bit before she hid it with her purse and said, "Don't be dumb. I don't want to dance with a cripple, so you better get that checked out first." I wanted to add, he couldn't be dumb. He is dumb. To the conversation, but I held my tongue as I saw Dylan was suffering enough. "James, you have any painkillers?" I asked. "There's a box underneath the seat in the front," James replied. I nodded and scooted to the front seat before taking out a med-aid box. "Oh!" Dylan exclaimed in excitement as I brought it to him. "Let's see, Plan B pills, condoms, Viagra, morphine, marijuana, white powder. Wait a minute. This isn't the first aid box." "Ah. Wrong one. Try another one," James replied in a casual manner. All of us were frozen for a while before I closed the box slowly and went to exchange it. I gave Dylan some painkillers, and we never spoke about the first box again. "So, how did you two end up going to prom together?" Anais asked. Abby blushed a bit, and I replied, "No. I will tell you when you tell me your own story. How in the hell did you decide to go there with Dylan?" Anais was a bit flustered before she replied, "You know. He's the only one tall enough." "Huh?" Abby was confused. "He's the only one tall enough that I don't feel like a giant woman when we walk together," Anais explained shyly while fidgeting, which was unexpectedly a cute gap for the slut that flashed her tits at me at our first time meeting. "Anyway, that's the reason for me, so, what's yours?" "Oh, we're neighbors," I replied casually with a sly smirk, which made Anais exclaim in realization and Abby pouted in annoyance. "We're here," James said as it took only a short drive from Anais's house to the school. I held Abby's hand as I escorted her out of the car, gentleman style, and Anais helped the loopy Dylan as he took quite a few meds without me realizing it. "Smile for the camera," the school photographer said after we registered our name on the sign-in book. All four of us posed together before we entered the venue through a silvery white balloon arch. The venue was filled with streamers and teenagers dancing. The DJ played the song, "Low" by Florida. "This is magnificent," I muttered while enjoying the music. "The gym?" Abby asked with an excited expression as she watched the crowd dancing madly from the song. "No. The balloon arch," I explained. Suddenly, a bald man with a petite figure appeared beside me. He was wearing a beige shirt and brown tie, and was pushing his glasses up. He agreed with me and said, "I know, right? Ed, that's the principal." Abby whispered as I had no idea who the man was. "Oh. Hi," I said and shook his hand as he offered it first. I was wondering why the principal wasn't brown as it was shown in the series, but a dude that looked a bit like Moby, but I couldn't even continue thinking as a group of girls suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream as they saw me. "Oh my God, it's Edward!" A blonde teen with spectacles and a yellow dress almost fell to her knees. They started to encircle me and the principal while pushing Abby away. I held her quickly to prevent her from falling, and the tiny principal stood in front of us like a knight, barricading the girls from getting closer. All right, girls. Listen up. No one, and I mean it, no one, should come close to Mr. Newgate today, without his consent, all right? See here." The crowd stopped as the principal shouted. He suddenly swayed his arm to form a circle as he continued, "I'm creating a force field around him. All right. So every time you guys even think about getting close to him, the force field will bring you back to reality. Let him enjoy his first prom, okay? Everyone, move away," I said, "move away." He chased the girls away while giving me a thumbs up and winking, which made me mutter, "He's like a white, tiny, little knight. Even though I don't know his name, he is still helping me. I won't forget you." "Stop being dramatic," Abby said before she checked me all over to make sure that no one had assaulted me. "Ed, we're going to sit first before dancing," Anais said while helping Dylan stand straight. He had been swaying like a gas station balloon for a while because of the painkillers. Oh. And, we planned on leaving early, but I don't think Dylan is in a condition to drive. Anais added. Yeah. I can see that. I muttered. Dylan suddenly fell in my direction, and he grabbed my face as he said groggily, Hey, Ed, where's the limoug? Why did you plan to leave early? Abby asked. Well, you know, Anais said while glancing at Dylan's crotch area. Abby was confused for a second before she realized what Anais was talking about. Wait. You guys are dating? Abby asked in shock. Nope. But, he brought me to prom. So I need to return the favor. She said with a wink. Also, you guys are welcome to join if you want. I don't mind dash. Stop. Abby shouted quickly before Anais could finish her words. I was frozen on the spot as Anais walked away with Dylan while laughing. Abby grabbed my arms and pulled me to the dance floor before saying, You need to wipe that drool on your face. Ah, sorry. The thought of you and her sandwiched together. Finish those words and you won't be able to get me, or her. She said as she glared at me. I laughed and grabbed her right hand while my left hand was wrapped around her waist. I pulled her close suddenly, our face inches away from one another. So, tell me little lady, is this your first time on the dance floor? I asked with a smoldering look. She blushed a bit before she said, Yes. So you have a lot of responsibility tonight. Make sure I won't look weird. Understood. General POV. At the snacks table, a ginger kid with a white tux reached into his inner pocket and looked around to make sure that there wasn't anyone watching him. Then, he took out a flask and poured the liquor inside the punch bowl before getting a drink for him and his date. As he walked away, another Asian kid with a blue tux stood in front of the punch bowl and did the same thing. Ed and Abby were dancing on the dance floor while being watched by a trio of girls. Ugh, can't believe he's cheating on her on the same day he sang a song for her. A brunette girl with a flat chest scoffed as she held a red plastic cup. Men are all the same. Not to mention that girl is such a huge slut. Another girl said. The blonde who screamed before suddenly said, Wait. He might not know she's a hoe. Think about it. She usually wears revealing clothes, but as she brought her here, she's covering it all up? I think there's something more here. He might be tricked by her. Yeah. You might be right. That slut. We need to separate them. For Taylor. For Taylor. In a few seats next to them, Anais was helping Dylan get back his sanity by continuously whispering to him things he's going to miss out on if he kept being loopy. Suddenly Derek and Dylan's previous bandmates walked to them and asked her what happened to him. Ah. You bringer of misfortune. Derek muttered before his date called him back to the dance floor. Before he left, he said to Anais, Don't worry. This has happened before. Just let him sleep for 10 minutes. Then he'll be back to normal. Happened before? Wait. Does this kind of thing usually happen to him? Anais asked. Being a perfect wingman, Derek replied, Yeah. He's a poor guy. But honestly, if he didn't care for others so much, he would get less injured. Helping a grandmother cross the road, helping a cat stuck in a tree, he's a nice guy. Just a little bit naive. Oh. I see. Anais exclaimed, her gaze turned softer as she looked at Dylan. On the dance floor, Edward and Abby were happily dancing, unaware of the girl who was purposely walking towards them. She was holding a red cup that was filled to the brim with toilet water and grinned menacingly as she gazed at Abby. Chapter 140, Prom, Part 2. Edward POV. I didn't know you liked Star Wars. Abby said as we danced together. As the DJ was playing a slow song, we were holding each other as we gently swayed to the music. I loved it, but the last 3 movies made me completely annoyed with it. I spoke with a face filled with disdain. Last 3? What was that? I have never watched it before. But I do know about Luke and Leia. Abby said with a giggle. Really? What do you know about them? I asked curiously. Just the general thing. Hey, here's an idea. How about we pretend that we're them for the evening? I'll be Leia, and you'll be Luke, she said, unaware of the whereabouts of our parents at this moment. Ugh! I groaned in disgust while laughing. Abby was confused and she asked, what's with that reaction? You really don't know anything about the movie, do you? You just suggested that we change our state to Alabama. I joked, but she didn't get it, so I explained, Luke and Leia are brother and sisters. What? How could you watch something like that? Her face was filled with disgust, which made me laugh out loud, causing a few people around me to turn in my direction. Fortunately, as they did so, a kind-faced boy saw the girl who was walking towards us while holding a cup. He intercepted her quickly by grabbing her hand before she could spill the dirty toilet water on Abby. Hey, be careful, he said. The water fell on the floor, making the students around all stare at the nerdy brunette girl. Feeling self-conscious as everyone, even Abby and I, were staring at her, she stammered and said, You don't deserve it, you whore, before running away. What was that? Abby asked in disbelief. I narrowed my eyes at the direction the cursing girl was running, and my sixth sense told me that something was going on. Before I could confirm it, the principal suddenly appeared near me and said in a dramatic manner, I fear that a conspiracy against us is afoot. I nodded in agreement, but as he left, I realized, wait. Us? Mr. Delton? Hello? Despite me calling him, the teacher had never looked back and then he disappeared inside the crowd. I grabbed Abby's hand and said, Let's rest for a while. Oh, okay. Abby was nervous as my action was so sudden, and we left the dance floor, just a few seconds before the student council president walked up the stage. Miranda Cho was a petite Asian girl with brunette hair and a beauty mole on the lower side of her lips. Okay everyone. I hate to interrupt, but it's time for the prom king and prom queen vote. You guys need to pick a name from amongst the senior and junior students, and put it inside the collection box near the photo booth. The crowd murmured in disappointment, which made her add in a sad manner, I understand your frustrations. There are certain individuals among us today that his mere presence would defeat every single one of the males in the hall, but Edward Newgate is a guest. So by rules, he couldn't participate in the event. I was confused when I suddenly heard my name, but I just smiled politely at the president who was gawking at me before Abby and I sat down at an empty table near Anais and Dylan. How's he doing? I asked Anais. He's a bit better. But still loppy, she replied while turning her face away from Dylan to look at me. And now, we will start our annual dance battle competition. Contestant, please get on the circular platform if you want to compete. The winner will receive the Dance King crown, and will be called on the stage together with the prom king and queen. As I heard the president's next announcement, I fell into a confusion. Dance battle? You cannot be surprised. Step-up movies and flash mobs are trending this year. Abby said teasingly before she stood up and said, I'm going to get a drink. While the crowd was heating up from the competition, I held Abby's wrist to make her sit back down before I said, No. I'll do that for you. Anais, you want a drink too? Yeah, sure, wait. Where's Dylan? As she turned to look at her partner, she realized that he was gone from his seat. She got concerned and stood up quickly, before we suddenly heard people chanting Dylan's name. What the dash! I almost laughed out loud as I saw Dylan dancing on the battle platform. Anais was stunned, and Abby's jaw dropped as we saw Dylan dancing fluidly like a bona fide professional dancer. While on the effects of the drugs, he almost passed out a few times, and then regained his consciousness at the last moment, which for the crowd it seemed like he was making a wave move while dancing. The dance was legendary as he was dancing with the Grim Reaper at this moment. No one could handle Dylan's momentum on the dance floor. He was crumping, which his muscles were actually spasming from the pain, but the crowd loved it and cheered him on feverishly. Dylan! 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 Help, me! Dylan muttered in a tiny voice with tears pooling inside his eyes. After saving Dylan from the dance floor, the poor guy took a short 10-minute nap before he got his sanity back. What is this? It burns. Abby suddenly spewed out her drink as she tried to drink it. Anais smelled her cup of water in intrigue and taking a small sip before smiling widely and said, "Oh, this is almost vodka." Nice. Oh, alcohol. Ed, are you trying to get me drunk? Abby teased as she washed her mouth with bottled water instead of drinking the no-no juice. I was absent-minded when I went to get the drink that I forgot to check if someone had spiked the punch bowl before. I smiled at Abby before drinking all of the contents of her cup in one shot, making both her and Anais widen their eyes in disbelief. Ah. Refreshing. So, you want to get back on the dance floor? I asked with a grin. Why don't you ask Anais? She has been sitting here for the entire time. Abby said as she had truly pitied the girl. Prom was supposed to be a beautiful thing for the girls, but it was ruined for Anais as her date was on heavy medications. Sure. Anais, do you want to dance? I asked the giant girl. I think I'm tall enough, right? She giggled and said, barely. But I'm really bored, so I'll dance with you for one song. She said before she stood up. I laughed as I grabbed her hand and led her to the dance floor. The music was upbeat hip-hop music, so we both just enjoyed ourselves in the rhythms. I still kept an eye on Abby as I was afraid that something was going to happen to her, and it was noticed by Anais. You really don't think much, do you? You had just released a video with a song that people associated greatly with Taylor, but you brought another girl to prom. So of course people are going to target Abby as she wasn't a part of their fantasy. Oh. I exclaimed with a hint of disbelief. Anais was confused by my reaction and she asked, what? I didn't think that you'd notice things like that. You're pretty smart, aren't ya? Shut up. She said while laughing. As the music was over, Anais and I returned back to the seat. To her joy, her date had already regained his sanity and was kneeling on one knee. Okay, maybe he wasn't fully there yet. Dylan said, will you dance with me, my lady? Anais blushed and said angrily, took you long enough. She took her hand and let Dylan lead her towards the dance floor before they danced intimately with each other. His hand was on her back as they swayed together, but Anais grabbed it and lowered it to make Dylan grab her ass. Abby and I were laughing before I invited her to the dance floor again. I asked, how's your night going? It is great. I think I had built up the prom expectations in my head so much that I forgot that it is just a normal school dance. Abby replied. Really? What's different from your imagination? Well, for starters, there isn't a spotlight shining on a couple as they dance. People were more modest, instead of making out right in the middle of the dance floor. She said as we turned to the couple next to us. They were basically licking each other's faces, and the principal had to intervene and bring them outside of the venue to cool down. But they had never returned, presumably to continue their night someplace else. More and more couples have left the event even though it hasn't reached the end yet. The crowd had become more sparse, leaving those who didn't have a date to prom become increasingly nervous as they haven't gotten the chance to dance with someone yet. Oh look, Brain and Madeline are here too. I muttered in a casual manner as if I didn't sick an enraged mother raccoon on them before. Brain still has a bandage on his nose, and Madeline has band-aids all over their faces. The near-death experience had made them become more mature and less annoying, which made them more tolerable in my book. Hey, Ed, a lot of girls are looking at you. Abby said as she looked in the no-date girl's direction. They sure are. I replied dismissively as I focused my attention on her. She held back her smile before saying, you know, they probably have the same expectations as me tonight. But they couldn't find anyone to become their date. Funnily, the number of boys and girls who don't have a date is similar. Alright, I know what to do. After escorting Abby out of the dance floor as I am a gentleman, I walked to a group of nerdy-looking boys who were standing near the wall, just staring at other people as they danced. Hey you guys. I have a proposition for you. I said with a sly grin while Abby went to the girls and talked to them at the same time. Then, we helped them to pair up into a few awkward couples after making them get to know each other. It took us around 30 minutes to make sure that none of the kids were left behind, and when we were finally done, the student council president, Miranda Cho, walked towards us with an anxious expression. "Hey," she called out with a tiny voice. What can we do for you, Miss President?" Abby asked with a smile. She had a good impression on the girl as they were lab partners before. "Miss President, it can't be that you don't have a date too, right?" I asked teasingly. "Well, if I wasn't so busy planning this event, I would have a date too," she said while pouting angrily. But too bad for her, there weren't any boys left for us to fix her up with. "Why don't you ask Edward for a dance?" "I need to go to the powder room," Abby muttered with a smile. "But only for one song," she added playfully. At this time, Anais and Dylan also had gotten back to their seats, with Dylan's face in a daze from Anais's teasing. She was waving at Abby as she also needed a break too, which made me feel at ease. "All right. You should go together with Anais. I'm not a child." Abby rolled her eyes, but she still followed my advice and went to Anais to invite her to the bathroom. Miranda's face was blushing the entire time as we danced together. A few of her close friends teased her as they danced near us, which made her want to bury her face in a hole somewhere. "Yo, you are coming to this school next year, right?" she asked. "Yeah. I'll skip the grades and enter the junior classes." She smiled widely and said, "Oh. I'll show you around when the time comes, you know, if you want." "That'll be nice. Who better to show me around the school rather than the student council president, right? You know it." As the song ended, I suddenly saw a crowd gathering in front of the girls' bathroom. I got a bad feeling about it, and so does Miranda. We both walked together to check out what was happening over there. General POV. As Edward had gone to the prom, most of his friends left his house one by one. The last one remaining there was Jenna, as she wanted to wait for her mother to come and pick her up. Excuses, lol. However, her scheme to bury her head on Ed's pillow to sniff it was ruined as Camila invited her to have dinner together. They become quite close as Jenna has her ways with the mother's type. As they were eating and talking, suddenly the doorbell rang. "Oh, that must be your mother," Camila said before wiping her mouth with a napkin and left the table to open the door. But as she opened it, she was confused when she saw an almost tiny man standing in front of the house while fidgeting. You must be Edward's sister." I am Leonard. He told me to come and pick something up?" Leonard said while avoiding Camila's scrutinizing gaze. "Sister?" Camila was flattered and she held her face with one hand before excitedly waving the other. No. "I'm his aunt." "Are you trying to hit on me?" Leonard was flabbergasted and he said hurriedly, No, ma'am. I just thought you looked really young." "I'm sorry." "Oh, I wasn't angry at you." Camila was taken aback by the reaction, and as she looked at Leonard a bit closer, she couldn't help but think he was cute. He looked like a scared little chihuahua, she thought. "I remember it. Ed told me he left a suit for you, but you need to try it on first to see if it fits." "A suit? Why is he giving me a suit?" Leonard was confused. At this time Jenna walked to the door and joined the conversation. "He has outgrown it. The suit is still new. He has never worn it before." Her face was filled with disdain as she knew, if Edward had worn the suit even once, she would have brought it back to her place instead of giving it to a certain nobody. But as it was never on his body, she didn't have the same desire to stop Ed from donating it. "Oh, so he's outgrown it, huh? Lucky for him," Leonard said self-deprecatingly as he had already reached his height limit in this life, which was comparable to Edward before his growth spurt. Leonard went to test on the clothes inside the house, and then Camila asked to take a look at it before he could take it off. "It's great, although the leg pants are a bit long," Leonard said. "Of course it's great. It's Armani. And it cost over $2,000. Jenna muttered suddenly, causing Leonard's face to turn ashen. Really? Then I couldn't take this. He tried to take it off, but Camila stopped him. Nonsense. Ed wants to give it to you. So you gotta take it. Camila said before she added, besides, you look handsome in that suit. Leonard blushed hard and he couldn't look Camila straight in the eyes. The doorbell rang at this moment, and Jenna's eyes lit up as she heard it. That must be my mom. She ran towards the door happily to invite her mother inside as she wanted to introduce her to Edward's aunt. Mom! Come on. You'll like Camila. She's a very nice woman. Jenna said as she dragged her mother inside the house. Alexandria was wearing a white fur coat with a white tank top and short skirt as she had just finished her shooting. But as she came face to face with Camila, she couldn't help but feel that the latter was so beautiful. No, this can't be. Jenna has already gotten close to the green chick. I can't let her be close to any more maternal figures. Then, she'll know how awful I really am at my role. She thought fearfully as she shook hands with Camila. And who's this? She asked the short man standing beside the Latina aunt. Oh, I am Leonard. I feel like I know you. Oh, you might have seen me in some of my work before. After all, men like the films I usually get a role in. Alexandria said with a hint of self-depreciation. No. That's not it. I got it. I saw you at Cho's restaurant before. Leonard said with an excited face as he finally figured it out. Oh. Did you live nearby too? She asked with an excited face. Yeah, 2311 Los Robles. We're 2315 Los Robles. We live in the same block. Alexandria muttered. Oh, you guys should get to know each other. Camila said as she acted as a wingman for Leonard. He became shy quickly as he was surrounded by two pretty women, and after a short conversation, Leonard, Jenna, and her mother all left the house to get back to their place. So that's why Edward doesn't want Howard to come near his house. And I couldn't help but to agree with him. Back to prom. As Abby and Anais went to the bathroom, two girls stared at their direction before slowly moving their ways towards them. Ugh! My lipstick is all gone. Anais muttered angrily as she fixed her makeup in the bathroom mirror. Huh? Why? Abby asked in confusion as she washed her hand. Anais giggled before saying, I make out with Dylan for a little bit. He's a sloppy kisser. It's like kissing a golden retriever. Abby laughed as she also looked into the mirror to check on her appearance, but then she saw a few girls staring at her from behind. Huh? What do you guys want? She asked in alarm. Anais raised one of her eyebrows and said, Are you guys the Blondie's idiotic fans too? Taylor isn't an idiot. She's an icon. One of the girls retorted. She was the bespectacled blonde girl that was obsessive with Taylor and thought Abby was tricking Edward before. Her friend was more on a moderate side, but the blonde girl was basically a lunatic. I didn't say she's the idiot. Anais scoffed as she went close to Abby to protect her. The brunette girl said, No, we don't want to do anything. We just want to talk to you. Don't get too close to Edward. He's dating Taylor. We don't want you to trick him. When am I tricking him? Abby was bewildered by the accusation. Anais was provoked and she said, Whether Edward wants to date Abby, or me, or even change his taste to date Dylan or any other person in this hall, it's none of your business. We dash. No. He doesn't even know you guys. You have no right to interfere in his life, or even Abby's life. Let's go, Abby. No, you stop there. The blonde girl suddenly shouted and she took out a pair of scissors. Kennifer, are you crazy? The brunette asked fearfully before taking a step back from her friend. If protecting Taylor and Edward is crazy, then you can call me that. Abby. I'm warning you. Don't trick Edward any longer. Or I will dash. You will what? Abby asked in a cold manner as she didn't feel threatened by the girl at all. Don't indulge her, Abby. This bitch is insane. Let's go. Anais said as she grabbed Abby's arm and they both were trying to walk out of the toilet. Jennifer shivered in anger before she suddenly decided to follow her impulsive thoughts. I had warned you. She suddenly snipped a part of Abby's hair, targeting one of the twintails she had tied up, making it look unbalanced. Her silky black hair scattered on the floor, which made Abby freeze in her spot. Anais exploded and punched the blonde girl in the nose. You bitch. Before she could go on to beat up the girl who was crouching on the floor and cupping her hand on her bleeding and broken nose, Abby grabbed her to stop her. The shouting attracted some people to the bathroom as they wanted to see what was going on inside, and at the same time it attracted Edward too. That wraps up this part of What If Karmic Gacha System in Modern Family World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.